Hello and welcome to Game Brain, a board game podcast about our gaming group. I'm Ben Mandelker, and joining me today is the inimitable Paul Satachet. Hey, Paul, what's going on?
Inimitable. Wow.
Yeah.
That's hey, everyone. It's me, Paul Satachet.
It's Paul, everyone.
Paul.
America's hero.
Thank you.
America's favorite.
Finally, someone said it. Finally.
How are you doing today?
I am exhausted.
Okay, great vibe to start the podcast off on. Just a reminder, if you love hearing someone who's exhausted, we are still nominated for a Golden Geek. So if you want to give us if you want to throw a vote our way, we will be very honored and appreciative. And obviously, no obligation, but it would be super, super cool if we won. I'm not going to lie.
Perfect segue into that. Yeah.
Paul is exhausted because he's been campaigning very hard. He's been going to like FYC panels, for your consideration, Game Brain.
Yeah.
He's been schmoozing it up with entertainment reporters. He was going to go to the Met Gala tonight, but
I'm still planning to.
Yeah, you were going to be dressed as a giant game of Gloomhaven.
That'll be all of Gloomhaven.
It was going to be a tuxedo on the top, but a Gloomhaven ball gown on the bottom, like Billy Porter, but with Gloomhaven.
But yeah, I think you helped me pick it out, so I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah. So the question is,
but will
Paul's hard work pay off? I don't know.
It was off the rack though. There were so many of those.
Oh wow, yeah. So, see, you got the thing is this: if you're gonna do it, you got to go all the way. You can't bring something off the rack to the Met.
I was like, there's so many of these. Is anyone gonna know? I don't know. I hate to be there with what's her name? Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift, who's not going to the Met Gala.
Is she not? Oh.
I think I read that she and Travis Kelce are not going to the Met Gala because they don't want to bring too much attention. They don't want to upstage some weird thing like that. I don't believe it for a second.
Do they do that? Do they upstage anyone? They're so low key.
they're like us when we podcast. They're super chill.
That's right.
So anyway, welcome back to Anna Wintour's favorite board game podcast,
right.
Game Brain.
Welcome to Chicken Talk.
Chicken Talk. No, for real though. If I don't know how long the nominations are open until. I feel like they're going to close any second now. But if you haven't voted yet, we really would appreciate your vote. As would, I'm sure, many other games and other podcasters. So vote for who you, it's always good to vote anyway for these things. Yes. It's fun. Helps grow the hobby, but we would love it. Vote.
Because if you don't vote, then it doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
Honestly, I need it for my ego.
There you go.
I'm going to say it right. I'm just brutal honesty. My ego needs to be fed at the moment. And I need to say, I am one of the co-hosts of the best board game podcast
of 2023.
Of 2024. Well, whatever it is.
It'd be 3, right?
It's a 2024 Golden Geek.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that's a motivating factor for people. They may actually want to just take me down a peg and be like, no, you're not ready. We're not ready.
No, you are. You are. I've seen you train. I've seen you. It's been a long road getting from here to there. It's like, we should have seen you before. You were just a mess, but you pulled your life together.
Yeah, I'm like a Top Chef contestant. Like I was if it weren't for a board game podcast, I'd be living in a gutter on drugs.
Yeah, no, it's amazing.
But anyway, enough about our nomination, which you should vote for. Enough shameless campaigning. Yeah. We are here because it's time to talk board games.
Time to talk board games. We're gonna a day late again.
A day late, but there's a lot of stuff going on. It was a very busy weekend, and sometimes the podcast needs to have needs to chill for one day delay.
Yeah,
but
like last week, Game Brain After Dark.
Yeah, Game Brain After Dark was super fun. We enjoyed that. But yeah, no. I'm just burped on. I don't know if you heard that. I just burped right on the podcast.
Ben.
There goes the win.
Ben's bringing it.
How was your weekend, by the way? Speaking of weekends, what did you do?
I went to see Fall Guy, which I thought was great. And then Jake and I, if you remember Jake, we do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and we were in a tournament, and Jake won his bracket.
Fantastic.
I also...
Which bracket did you win?
I won it's called Ultra Heavy.
Oh.
So
we like our games like we like our brackets. Yeah, Ultra Heavy.
That's right. It's an Ultra Heavy bracket. It's a bunch of people the size of cattle, like, throwing each other around.
Oh, you're not the size of a cattle.
I'm the size of a calf, maybe. But like, it was really interesting because I have very poor cardio and endurance. And after the first bout, I was going, oh, I'm on empty.
Yeah.
To the point, and like my body was already on fire. So I told my wife to go to 7-Eleven and bring me a cup of ice. And so, so rather,
you're very Alicia Keys in this.
Yeah. So rather than bring me a cup of ice, she brought me like a 7-pound bag of ice, which I put in my lap, and I was like cooling down my forearms.
Wow.
And like everyone was laughing at me. Oh, look, it's the Iceman. But there is some actually board gaming or gaming in here.
Yeah.
Because when you do competition, you do with points.
Okay.
Or you win by the person tapping out. And by the second and third bout, I had no energy for tapping anyone out. And so if I was ahead on points, I would just hold. Right. And so what I was doing was I won because I had worse jiu-jitsu but better tournament play.
There you go.
And so it's one of those
That's
things.
part of it, though.
Yeah, 100%. And so I gamed the system and going like, oh, here is what is available in the time frame. This person won't be able to do these things if I just stymie them.
Yeah.
And it's just like a board game where you're down there with, oh, if I just take wood away from Ben, he can't get longest road.
Yeah.
Doom. And I did that twice to these people, and the instructor who was
it's like you're doing Moneyball.
A little bit. Look, it's literally a bit. Like, he looked at me and basically was like, oh, I know what you did there, kid.
Yeah.
I know you, it's not pretty, but I know what you did.
Well, it reminds me of, if I can, associate this with board gaming. It does remind me of one of my favorite games, Forbidden Stars, which is like a space game, but there are different factions in it. There's 4 factions, and like the basic faction, like if you were to compare everything to Super Mario Brothers 2, like the Mario faction,
sure, that
is like, one could say the star of the game, but the most uninteresting one. Their big thing is that they're just like, they just kind of like they're like resilient. Like they're not great fighters. Their cards are not like flashy or anything like that, but they're really good at just kind of staying in the fight.
Yep.
They just last. And that's what you remind me of that. You remind me of the Space Marines.
Yeah, no, like
Forbidden Stars.
I'm a Space Marine, That's the nicest way of phrasing it.
Who made the quote? I've been hearing it a lot recently. Was it Madonna who said like the most controversial thing I ever did was stick around?
Yeah, no.
Is that Madonna? Or is that you at your jiu-jitsu tournament?
That is not quite me, but I can see Madonna saying that. I think that's... Yeah, no, I think that's pretty much it for that. But it was just interesting for me. Like, oh... the gameness of it all was like I just
well, actually, I mean, so one could argue it's not that you like gamed the tournament. You did jiu-jitsu maybe the way you're supposed to do jiu-jitsu. I think if I remember correctly, boxing is a lot like that too. It's not just like, oh, can I land a hard punch? It's about like wearing down your opponent and like just doing what you can just to stay in it.
It's interesting you say that because I'm always torn about this. That there is the thing itself, and then there's the format of the tournament. And then you take boxing, for example. Mike Tyson was known for just being a dynamic boxer because he just knocked everyone out whenever.
Yeah.
And he lost to Holyfield because Holyfield gamed it. He basically used his range, punched him a couple times, and then when Mike would come in and try to do his knockout bit, he would just grab him.
Yep.
And it frustrated Mike to the point of the bite.
The bite.
So the question is who is the better boxer there? There's the better format player, versus the better what you ever want to call it. You want to call it the art person. And so I had the better form. I was the better format player this time.
But that's also, it actually relates quite a bit to board games because you know how when we game, I often say something happens a lot during 18xx, but usually in these kind of battle-y games. where I'm always joking that I'm drawn to the dramatic move.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I always am drawn.
You're
like
Tyson going for a
yeah,
knockout.
I'm like, I know I should like just stay steady and just do what I have to do and slowly build. But every now and then I'm like, if I thread this needle, I could deliver that knockout punch, you know, in round 3, way ahead of schedule.
Exactly.
And a lot of times it fails. But there is like that idea in gaming, like if you're building your engine, like, you know, we often talk about like, when do you convert your engine into points?
Yep, exactly.
Or when do you have, like in a game, maybe like a Twilight Imperium or Forbidden Stars, when do you make that move? It happens a lot in Forbidden Stars, actually, where you're like, okay, this is my window. I have to go in and attack now. Or like, this is my window. I have to now go from building my engine to now doing this thing. And like that patience that it requires in gaming is like totally applicable to, it sounds like, what you were doing, upsetting, destroying people's dreams.
I would say like I did the tournament the same way I play Skull and Roses. Which is like, I can get to the finals, but like, because I don't go for the dramatic move, I lose. Because like, you know, eventually like you go safe, and then, you know, like, oh, you just play skull. Right. Like, you know, and then all of a sudden, like, the person who takes the swing will win. Right. And so it was very interesting.
Well, and we see it on like Top Chef. We sit on Top Chef where there's a lot of talk about I'm playing too safe, or Survivor. I'm playing too safe. I've got to do something. I've got to do a big move.
I got to stand out.
It's got to stand out, right? But like, it's all about when you do it, and sometimes people are really antsy to do it. You know?
Yeah. No. Like this recent season of Top Chef.
Yes.
What was her name?
Wisconsin.
Yeah. Rasika.
Wait, no, by the way, if people are behind, it sounds like, since we're talking about Top Chef, there may be some spoilers if you're not up to date. So just fast forward if need be.
Yeah.
Rasika.
You know, yeah. Like, so like, she was swinging hard in the beginning, and she swung too hard, and she got,
and all her swings were hitting. So then I think she felt like she could do anything.
Yeah. And then
she had an epic fail.
That's right. To the point where like, she was literally the favorite, I think.
Yeah.
And then
they edited it that way. They made it look like they're like, oh man, she won again. And then she was gone.
She was gone. Like gone.
Gone. Well, she's in Last Chance Kitchen right now, so we don't know. Really?
Yeah. You're not caught up either.
That's fine. I don't Last Chance Kitchen spoilers don't bother me as much. So she's
gone.
So she was beaten. Who beat her? It was I'm trying to remember
the French guy.
Wow. So she's gone. Yeah. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, no, she was a strong contender too.
That's shocking. All right, I can't believe she was beat by Kevin.
Yeah, he produced a better dish.
Well, and that just goes to show he was the Paul.
Yeah,
in that situation, it's like he. I'm saying he was the Paul, given that I didn't even watch it, but like steady. Sometimes steadiness is just like all it is.
Yeah.
So did you get to play any games this weekend?
On Friday, I like to say, and you know, this is not to be insulting in any way, like Jordan had a banner night.
Oh, good.
Like he did really well. We played Avalon and he won.
Good.
And we played Age of Innovation, and he won handily. And it wasn't like, you know,
who did he beat?
He beat me.
Oh, wow.
and it was, you know, it wasn't like,
you're the Age of Innovation, like master of our group.
Master is not the right word, but like I'm the
You're
one.
the Anna Wintour of Age of Innovation.
Sure. I definitely am an aficionado of it, but like, and I think this is the first time Jordan's beat me at this, because you know, normally I make fun of him for every time we play Age of Innovation, and once everything is set, he looks at the board, he like touches his face, like almost like biting his fingers, not quite there, and I go like, this is the picture, I'm going to put this on a poster or something, and he just went into that, and it was just so. But this time he pulled it out in a way that was very, very good. I was very happy for him. And Dimitri played, and he did not like Terra Mystica, but he wound up having a good time playing Age of Innovation, and he was completely in it. Like, you know, it worked out for him. Like,
was he able to expand his empire beyond his arm's length?
Yes, but maybe for the sheer fact that, like, when you first lay down your faction, you get to have to put two factions.
Yeah.
So one was across the board.
That's a huge deal.
Yeah. No. But he engaged, and it was and Jordan engaged, and he was like he was making good choices. I don't need to win that game in the sense, but I do like making good choices, and
I always like making good choices in anything I do.
Because in some ways,
I like making bad choices.
In some ways, like it's really hard. Like it's like a 3-body problem kind of thing, right? Where if it was just me and him, then there would be clear mistakes, and you could predict that. But like when you put a third person or fourth person in, like it's unclear as to what is going to be a mistake and what isn't. A less optimal move in the moment may be the move that is required to win the game, and you can't tell because there's so many interactions.
Yeah.
So, Dimitri with the third body,
and he was one who created the cloud, the fog of war.
Yeah, a little bit, and it was so fun. The other side was playing modern art.
Okay,
and I think Tom won that. Like Tom is always very good at auction games.
He is really good at auctions. I am terrible at auctions. I always go through this pattern of being too conservative, being too safe, and then I decide, I panic, and then I pay way too much for something, way more than everyone else, and then I'm like usually upside down because of that, and like it's like I haven't built a foundation of money or whatever, or good value, and then I waste whatever I do have. And I mean, but I love modern art, but I'm just saying I'm bad. We talk about like making good choices versus bad choices, or steady versus showy. That's auctions.
Really steady at auction games. He's really steady in a way that is admirable. Like I always appreciate his, like once upon a time, he was in a baseball. I think a fantasy baseball league.
Okay.
And he kept on winning because he had he doesn't like baseball. So he just goes like,
I won fantasy baseball once also, and I also don't like baseball. I wonder if that gives an advantage.
And so like you're not, you just look at the numbers and go, this person gives this much. You just moneyball it in a way where I don't care about these people. Like, this person hits doubles. I'm going to hit a bunch of doubles and win a win. And so that ability to remove your value on the thing itself and just look at the numbers, Tom can do with an auction pretty well, I think.
I'm really bad at that.
I could actually be misremembering this, so if this is wrong, I apologize.
Well, it's very complimentary to Tom, so we'll just go with it.
Yeah, you know what? Let's just edit it out.
Tom was on a European odyssey, and so he just got back.
He was basically Odysseus.
He was. He's the Odysseus of our group, I often say. So, he must have been excited to finally play some games. Did he mention if he was able to play any games when he was abroad? Like, did he go into any game shops? I mean, we can always wait for him to be on the podcast.
I don't remember. I do know that he did go from basically, I think, Fort Lauderdale or...
Yeah, it went from like Fort Lauderdale to Le Havre, right?
Le Havre, like, my namesake, my kryptonite game. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Also, it's just a funny duo of cities.
Sure.
Fort Lauderdale and Le Havre. Yeah. Like, you're not seeing Uwe Rosenberg doing a game called Fort Lauderdale
yet. Yeah, that's right.
I would love to see Uwe Rosenberg doing some American cities and seeing his own, like...
Sure take.
I mean, the thing is, he loves being in the medieval era,
Sure.
But like, it would be kind of fun to
imagine medieval Tallahassee.
I would like to see a Euro game version of some of these cities, like Tallahassee, Tampa, the board game.
Oh, that'd be great.
I mean, we do see American cities. We see like there's like Building Seattle. I think like we'll see sometimes we'll see like New York City based games, maybe even Chicago ones.
Sure. Big shoulders.
Yeah, exactly. But like the cities in Europe that get highlighted by board games are they're so, I don't want to say they're niche, but they're just not, I wouldn't often think of them as world cities.
Sure.
Yeah, like they're not right. I did not grow up with the perspective that they were world cities.
Sure.
So I'm just looking at I'm looking at my shelf to see if I can get any good examples. But I just feel like I've learned so many European cities since joining this hobby. And I think it would be hilarious if we introduced places like Springfield, Massachusetts.
or the Springfield series. For Springfield.
Springfields.
That'd be hilarious.
Like what if we have a game that takes place in Victorville, California?
Wow, the thermometer.
Well, actually,
by the way,
I didn't even realize I was doing this I fully have just segued into something to talk about.
Oh.
The Salton Sea.
Oh, wow. That's a thing.
So I got to play last week Salton Sea, which is a new game by Devere. I would like to bring up the name of whoever designed it because I think this is a game I think we're going to be talking about. In fact, it intrigued me so much that I sat down and started recording a video about it. And I've yet to do a board game video.
Sure, like a tutorial or just a...
No. Just like, here's some thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
You know, I don't know why. I woke up and I was like, I'm just going to do this. This will be fun. I haven't put it on YouTube yet because it's not done. But the game is Salton Sea. It's from Devere. The designer is David Bernal and the artist is Amelia Sales. Well, actually, I'm sorry. Let me put on my reading glasses to make sure it's like her name is Rolanda. Let's see. No, her name is Amelia Sales, but it may be like Sales or something like that. Okay. But it's a game that takes place in the Salton Sea of California, which would qualify, I believe, as an obscure location
in America.
Mm-hmm. The Salton Sea is this. It's not a real sea. It's like a giant lake, and it's not. It's like an accidental lake because there was, if I remember correctly. Do you know anything about the Salton Sea?
I just know that like something about pumping water, blah blah blah.
Yes. So basically, I think that there was like an attempt. Something happened with like the Colorado River or something like that, like the 1900s, like early 1900s, not 1999.
Sure.
And there was like something broke. Water flooded into this region and created the Salton Sea, and it's this lake, and then it was like a very trendy tourist destination, like in the 50s. That's where people would go, celebrities, there were resorts everywhere. But then like it's drying up. It's not really where a lake is supposed to be. Sure. And then there's like environmental issues. There was runoff from farms. Water was diverted away from it, something like that. So it's one of these things where now like the resorts are gone.
It's smelly.
There's smell, I think, because of fish animal. I don't know if there even are fish left in it. It's like a crazy, sad place. The New York Times just did a photo essay about the Salton Sea about a month ago, and it's fascinating.
Like friends of mine came to visit, and they drove past the Salton Sea, and it was one of their favorite places.
I've been wanting to go. Yeah. And isn't that also where there's like a mountain, like a quote unquote mountain that's like, it's kind of like all spray painted.
Oh, is there?
There's something that's there, but anyway, it's this place here in Southern California. It's like northeast of San Diego, I guess you would put it. Anyway, so there's a board game about it now because there's a board game about every single possible setting and theme.
Not Tallahassee.
It's coming soon by the creators of White Castle. Comes Tallahassee.
That's right.
What would be a Tallahassee game, by the way?
What's there? There's the school
Capitol.
It's the Capitol. Like
alligators.
No, not really. Although every day looks like Friday the 13th because of the Spanish moss. Like the Spanish moss all over the tree, so it looks like Friday the 13th.
I never saw Friday the 13th because I'm scared of horror movies.
It's very creepy, and some people say it's really beautiful, but no, it's creepy.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, hurricanes keep missing it.
Hurricanes are like, you know what? We need to make sure that this state of Florida keeps functioning the way it is. That's right. Let's not destroy the Capitol.
We can't beat up this part of Florida. So that's there's a Moe's, a couple Moe's. Welcome to Moe's.
A Moe's? What?
Moe's is like a burrito chain.
Oh, I was thinking like Modell's Sporting Goods.
Oh no,
okay. So there's some burritos. Safe harbor from hurricanes, Spanish moss, a state capital.
There's Bon Thai, which is really supposed to be pronounced Bon Thai, which I don't know means anything, but it's supposed to be house Thai, and it's Jeb Bush's favorite Thai restaurant.
Well, you know what? I think I'm putting a challenge out there to the designers of the world is to create an evocative board game set in Tallahassee that's about Tallahassee.
Sure. No.
Not just that like it's a zombie game, not like Dead of Winter and it takes place in Tallahassee.
Totally. I think it would be like, imagine if Wes Anderson were to make a board game. That's how I imagine Tallahassee would be the game.
There is a Santa Monica game, by the way.
Okay.
You know, same designer as Let's Go to Japan. So maybe Let's Go to Tallahassee.
That's a choice.
Limited card set.
strip clubs are illegal there.
What? It's Florida.
Yeah. Within the city proper, it's illegal to have a strip club. I went to film school at Tallahassee, so
I was like, Paul knows a lot about Tallahassee.
So it isn't just like some random thing, So
let's export Tallahassee to like Europe. Let's let Europe know about Tallahassee.
There you go.
You know.
Like,
anyway,
the only reason why I say that is because like in the American version of The Office, Kathy Bates, is in it for a second. She goes, something like a Tallahassee strip club. And I go, there aren't strip clubs in Tallahassee. The writers don't know what they're talking about.
It's a factually inaccurate joke.
Exactly. I can't trust the show anymore.
It's not a safe space. Anyway, so the Salton Sea, it's a real place. And so there's this game. It's another one of these small box games, like Red Cathedral and the White Castle, both of which also come from De Vere Games. So this one is... It is about drilling in the Salton Sea. It's kind of imagining the Salton Sea as a
lithium deposit.
A potential source of lithium. It reminds me of like going to like a World's Fair where there's like lots of conceptual ideas of like, this is what we could do with the future. So as far as I know, there's no lithium mining happening in the Salton Sea. Like my impression of the Salton Sea is that there's nothing happening there. Like literally nothing. The New York Times article was like, there's like, the main community around there has like 200 people in it or something like that. Don't quote me on that. But this game is like, oh, what if we mined the Salton Sea for lithium? And lithium would be really great for, contributing to a cleaner future. We can start putting it into batteries, electric cars, yada, yada, yada. So in the game, you're basically playing, I think you're a company and you're drilling. You're drilling for lithium. I feel like I'm seeing your eyes glaze over now.
I actually think it's funny, but like,
there's no way that this pitch. I cannot make this pitch sound less sexy. You're in a wasteland.
You're basically fracking for lithium. Here's this dystopia of like an environmental catastrophe, and you're making it worse.
When people talk about dry themes, it does not get much drier than saying like you're going to go fracking in the Salton Sea, but. Actually, technically, you're looking for brine because the brine is where you find the lithium. But the brine also could lead to like geothermal energy. Mm-hmm. The rule book has this enormous preface from I believe it's the designer who has some degree in this area.
Okay, I mean, that's totally. I love that.
Yeah, no, when we do a review of it, I'll have more details on what he does, etc. But so that's like the theme is that we're basically drilling for stuff. There's a lot of things you can do in the game. You can drill through rocks, and then to find the brine. Then you do an action to extract the brine. Then you do an action to convert brine into lithium, or maybe brine to geothermal energy. And then you might sell that stuff to a company, and that company you'll get money for that. And then you can also buy stocks in that company. So the more people sell to that company, the more your stock is going to be worth. Or you can fulfill contracts by having like, oh, here's 2 batteries and 1, geothermal energy, something or another. Mm-hmm. It's that kind of game.
Sure. Small
box. But the real tricky thing, the shtick, the reason why it like became a game is that your money, your currency in this game, those are also your actions. And what I mean by that is that like on your player board, there's I think about 8 actions you can do. Drill, extract, convert, yada, yada. But they're all kind of shitty. They're like a sad version.
Sure, sad.
Yeah, just so like sad. Like sad. It's like if you drill from your player board, you can drill like 1 layer of rock when you really want to drill like 4.
If you want to destroy the environment, you want to destroy the environment.
You want to get in there.
That's right.
All right. Like it's like, or a better example is like, oh, I've got 3 batteries, but I'm only allowed to sell 1 at a time. It's like a sad battery selling moment for you. But what happens is you can acquire these cards, and these cards are like better versions. It's like, oh yeah, congratulations. Now you can use this card to drill 3 times or sell 3 batteries,
Or you can spend it as money.
So if you use it as an action, it comes back to you at the end of the round. Mm-hmm. If you spend it as money, it's gone forever, pretty much. And therein lies the shtick. And it's a good, let me tell you something. It's a good shtick.
Oh, they execute well.
It is. So this game is so hard.
So hard.
It is. So I do not have, I only played it once. I do not have any sense of how to play this game well. The money is so tight. And I think it's by design. I've heard other reviews complain that it's actually too tight. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, there's not enough room to do what you want to do. Like there's just not enough money. It's hard. It's crushing. But they have to make it that tight because if money were easy to come by, then you might not really have a meaningful choice about like whether to keep something as an action or to spend it as money.
No, I think it sounds, tough choices, hard games. That's what our board game is about. Our board game podcast is about.
Yeah. So I have to say, first impression was very good. I played it with Trey, David Gillison, friend of the podcast, and Jordan. And
he's also our friend as well.
Barely.
He's also a friend. He's also
all right.
A person.
He's a friend. Well, we like him.
We know him as the mammal.
The mammal, David Gillison, the mammal. He's our favorite mammal.
There we go. Okay.
No, but honestly, I was very surprised. I was pleasantly surprised by this game. Mm-hmm. I picked it up when I was in New York. Did I mention that on our last podcast?
You did.
I picked it up. Because again, it's been getting, I think, a fairly lukewarm reception. And so I was afraid that it was...
Is it your new Iki?
It's not Iki. Iki is special.
Okay.
But I think this game is better than I think the initial reviews are maybe saying.
Sure.
It's dry as hell. So if that's going to be an issue for you, then
because of the weather?
Because of the climate change, the game has actually dried out.
That's right.
It used to be a very lush, beautiful game.
That's right.
No, but it's like a dry game, and it's visually very dry.
What if we played a legacy version of it, and it starts off in the resort era, and then just slow.
I would. What about a game? A game that is like Evacuation, except it's like instead of space, it's like the Salton Sea. Like you start off with this beautiful, lush area. Exactly. It would actually be really cool if you have a game where it's like a resort area, mm-hmm. but the more it's a resort area, the more you're like negatively impacting the environment, and you're actually destroying it, and you're destroying and so then you're going to lose resort money.
So it flips to a logistical game somewhere in the middle where you're leaving the resort.
It's exactly
and converting your resort money into lithium money.
But I think we also know that I think these days, if you had a thriving resort area, and there was an environmental issue, I think these days there would be like incentive to keep that lake going, I mean, look at Palm Springs. Palm Springs is in the middle of the desert, and they get water in there to keep those grasses green.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Look at Los Angeles,
Yeah, no.
Salton Sea just missed the wave of... It literally can barely make a wave now. But that would be kind of fun, like a declining resort town game.
Now I want to play like a Tallahassee.
Did Tallahassee ever have a great booming resort moment?
I don't know. Maybe when Burt Reynolds was the football person there.
Oh.
Another thing about Burt Reynolds played football for FSU.
I think though, I mean, I will say, getting back to Salton Sea, it is following in this sort of newer tradition, or what seems to be newer to me, of these breaking your engine games.
Yeah.
Cannibalizing your engine game. I remember last year, Tom was talking about how he was really into these games, but Evacuation is obviously a really big one. Mm-hmm. But this game is like, you accumulate you're accumulating all these cards, and the only way to get new cards is to earn money. Like anytime you earn money in this game, you are given actual action cards. And so there's like $1 cards, $3 cards, and $5 cards. So you're motivated to try to get more and more money, because if you can get the $5 cards, they do so much for you. But like, you need the special actions that are on those cards to generate big bucks, but you usually don't have enough money to do the things you need. So you often have to sacrifice those cards. And it's like, when do you sacrifice? When do you not? And to get back to even the top of the episode, I definitely had a situation where I sacrificed everything. I was like, you know what? I'm going to make this big purchase. This isn't going to be important. I gave in all my cards, and then the entire last round of the game, I wound up doing nothing because I cannibalized too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You spent all that money on the War Sun.
Yeah, I did do that. And that's but
you did your
bane
way.
of my existence. But anyway, Salton Sea, cool one. I can't wait to play it with you. I'm excited to see. It's going to be one of those games, Paul, where you go, what are you doing, Paul? What are you doing, Paul? Speak to me, Goose. Speak to me, Goose. What are you doing, Paul? You're going to say that
like the perfect impression of me. That's perfect. I love it. I love it.
You will do that all night.
Oh, yeah. That's perfect. I love it.
So if you're someone who likes an agony game, so far Salton Sea is very agony forward.
Oh. Like, I think what it is about agony games that I like is that I imagine that a computer would be able to just always beat you. Just because for a computer, it's just a difference engine. Like, here's the better move, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Whereas, for a human, you have the difference engine and the emotional attachment. Like, oh, this is a really good move.
Yeah.
I really want to keep this. And that you can't, the scarcity impacts your ability to evaluate.
Well, it was interesting because I thought I never got up to a $5 card in the Salton Sea.
Sure.
The highest I got was a $3 card. And I thought I was being, I normally am precious and I'm like, okay, I don't want to give up this card. And I thought I was actually playing a little bit outside the box because I used my $3 card for money a few times. I got like $3 like twice, actually, literally 2 times. I got up to $3 with like enough to get like a $3 card. And I used them. I'm like, look at me. I'm just looking at the value. I'm not being attached to this card.
Sure.
But I think the lesson learned was I actually needed to be attached to those cards because I needed special powers so desperately in the game.
You know who I want to play that game with now? The way you describe it? Stacy.
Oh my God, Stacy would be amazing. But like Stacy would do big things, but she would cannibalize. I think she would over cannibalize.
Yeah,
I could see it happening. The reason why it's actually really hard in the Salton Sea is because I was doing kind of like the cheap strategy, which is as best I can say it was that I was fracking and I was getting brine, and you can convert the brine into higher end goods, basically batteries or energy, but it costs money. And I was like, or you can just sell the brine. And I was just doing I'm just going to sell the brine and get quick little money. And everyone else was being patient and building up like a nice inventory. And the thing is, the way the game is designed, which I did not know the first play, is that like the contract deck, for instance, as an example, is what do you call it when there's like an era 1, era 2? It's like it's meaning that it's like it's sort of not coordinated, but it's like it's not up to chance, fully up to chance.
Sure.
Like at a certain point, everything's going to level up.
Yep.
And when you get into a certain part of the game, no one wants to buy brine from you. And also you start like what you get for brine goes down. So I thought I could just do like, okay, I'm doing cheap
brine.
And then all of a sudden,
no one wants it.
No one really wanted it, and I couldn't do anything. I couldn't turn it. It was a dead end for me, and so that was hard.
Well, you make it sound like viticulture in some ways. Not the what's called action money bit, but like the holding on to your brine and making it into better wine, brine to wine.
It's 10 times harder than viticulture, I will have to say. I've already gone in a lot to it, and I know when we do the review, we're going to go in deep, and I'm going to have my video up, which is going to also
change everything.
So that'll be a real game changer for people.
That might get us the Golden Geek.
You know what?
If you guys haven't considered voting yet, maybe consider voting for the Golden Geek, everyone, for Game Brain Best Podcast. Thank you.
Can I tell you something that I have an extreme amount of anxiety about?
Sure. Are you talking to me or are you talking to our audience?
Both.
Okay. Well,
Both.
I'm here.
I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you
here.
first and foremost.
Thank you.
Since you were so kind to give me so many details about Tallahassee, I want to give you details about my anxiety. So, Marrakesh. I love Marrakesh.
Yeah, Marrakesh.
Marrakesh is great.
Still is your favorite felt?
It is. It's still my favorite felt.
Yep, great.
I love it. I'm actually sad I haven't played it in 2 months,
Been traveling.
I've been traveling. I've been doing things. Been,
Sure.
Getting around.
Yeah. Marrakesh.
And by the way, I had a friend who went to Marrakesh 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and she said it was very touristy. So I just want to put that out there. A little micro review.
Micro review of Marrakesh. Touristy. The board game? No, the place. Thank you.
The board game is fantastic. So there's an expansion for Marrakesh called Camels and Nomads.
Okay.
Or Nomads and Camels.
Is it the race one?
It has a race. So at the peak of my Marrakesh excitement, I got Matt into Marrakesh, and he was like, just so you know, for the Camels and Nomads expansion, you can do a late pledge still, and you back like Queen Games' like newsletter for $5, and then as an add-on, you add on Camels and whatever. So I was like, yeah. So I did it, and I added that on, and I added on some other things for like my other games, and then I was just like, cool, yeah, whatever. And it's been sort of the back of my mind. I'm like, I'm not expecting this game anytime soon. But then I was like, wait a second, it's almost May, and it seems like it's going to be May. It is May.
Yeah.
And I realized, like, everyone who ordered camels has gotten their camels.
Uh-oh. I already sensing the anxiety.
And so then I emailed them, and I was like, hey,
where are my nomads?
What's going on I was like, hey, do you have the camels, the nomads? They're coming anytime soon. Queen Games has a reputation for being terrible with their customer service. Absolutely terrible. But I've never had to deal with it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh shit, my time has come. My time has come for me to interface with our customer service. And I have emailed, and there's been no response. And I was like, oh no. And it's been like 2 or 3 weeks since I emailed them. I was like, I spent a lot of money on this thing. And then I looked, and so I have a mailbox at the UPS store because my location here, things get lost.
Yep.
And I realized the UPS store is the next zip code over. And I realized I put my zip code here instead of the zip code for the UPS store. And now I'm like, oh no, have I just sealed my fate? Is it over? Am I just never going to get this pledge because I put the wrong zip code and it probably went back to Germany, and then I'm never going to hear from them again? What do I do?
Well, you are going to be in Europe very soon.
So I just go knock on their door.
Hey. Oh, hello.
I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do about this situation here.
I don't know. As a prominent board game podcaster, I feel that you might have more power than you think.
I don't know. I think it's like
maybe you go through Candace to
yeah. I'll pull some Candace connections.
That's right.
And be like, please have my camels and nomads.
That's right.
I don't know. It makes me very anxious. That's the thing with board gaming, is that like sometimes when one thing goes wrong, sometimes either you get the best customer service ever, like the designer themselves will come back, will be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Let me mail you this piece. Yeah. And then sometimes you're just speaking into the void.
Life is that way.
Life is that way.
Life is like games.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Life is like games, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So anyway, that's my anxiety, that I'm putting it out there in the universe, hoping that someone out there in the void in Queen Games hears this and checks their email.
Well, you told me a story once where you wanted a PS5 and you just put it out there.
I did.
And you got it.
And I did.
So you were one of God's favorites.
I don't know about that, but like hopefully the PS5 magic will work for camels and nomads. I don't know. Did you get to play any other games?
I did not. I did get to watch the other group play Jaws, which is one of my favorite games, just because of how ridiculous and perfectly ridiculous it is. And they were screaming and yelling, and I would prefer to play Age of Innovation, but I was very happy for them for playing fun. Jaws. And yeah, I always like when that comes out. Tom was a little like jet lagged.
Yeah,
and
tired.
Chris Bussey was also a little tired. Didn't have the bandwidth for like Shipyard or something. So,
yeah, I get that. It's hard. I mean, yeah, it was. It's funny because when we busted out Salton Sea last week, I was exhausted. But like when I'm exhausted, that's actually kind of when I would like a really crunchy hard game the most, in a weird way. Like the idea of learning a game is sometimes annoying, but like to me, it really is a mental massage. Like if I've had a long day, I don't say I just want to play a light game. A lot of people do that. If I have a long day, I'm like, oh, please, like let's work out these kinks. Like give me something
you're
puzzly.
A Swedish massage person, like a sports massage person.
Yeah, that's exactly that really just takes me to my happy place. You know,
no, that's good. It's good. Like, you know, I think that's what do I do when I am tired? Social deduction.
You love it. Every week we when we do like the board game, the like what's games on the brain thing for Instagram, Avalon is always up there for you.
Yeah, like for example, this last Avalon game, I apologize already. So Jordan and Chris were Merlin and Percival, and I was Assassin. And so we did our thing, and then Tom started talking about the cruise. And, you know, and before we started, he just kept on talking about it. And I was just looking around the table, and the way that Jordan and Chris were looking at Tom as they were listening, I go like, oh, they're the good guys.
They're the good guys.
They're Merlin and Percival.
How could you tell by the way they were looking?
Like the way that I describe it to Jordan is like you're listening differently than you would if you were basic blue.
Oh, I see. There was like trying to suss something out, right?
Well, there was trying to go like, oh, I don't want to give anything away, as opposed to being there in the moment.
Did you write that down on a little yellow
I did not,
sticky?
but I said it before like anything happened. I go like, oh, Tom and Dimitri are not, you know, and I just lay it all out like, you know, Clue or something. And Tom was too chill talking about his what's it called? His cruise. His cruise. He goes, oh, you're not. And Dimitri was casually listening. So there wasn't that tension. So it's these two. And we're playing 7. So it's an easier way to hone in. And
do you think that like, do you think it's like, it's interesting because like if people are not fully in it, that really changes the meta around the game.
Well, once again, like there are all these other factors. Like if people aren't in it, then you take that into consideration. And the great thing about playing with your group is like you get to see when this person is tired. They're good. They're just tired, and they
right.
And this person is blah blah blah. Like, you know, it was interesting because Mike was giving away that I'm Mordred like energy like very quickly. And then once that was clear, what I did was I shifted and attacked Dimitri as far as like, oh, I don't need to convince everyone. I just need to convince Dimitri that Trey, Mike, and I are good. And it almost worked, but it didn't. And I didn't know who was Merlin and Percival between Jordan and Chris, but like.
We were talking a little bit before about like what energy should people bring to a game night in terms of like, is there a responsibility? Like, is it good or is it bad? Like if people are like kind of off, not paying attention. I feel like in a game like Avalon, that's actually part of the game is like, that contributes to the game.
It's interesting because you take Avalon, for example, in Friday's game, everyone brought a certain level of enthusiasm and skill. So like, it made a great game. I thought it was a great game. And you know, losing is irrelevant, right? It's about, you know, the experience. And I think Jordan had kind of focused well enough on our meta so that he could be convincing and as Merlin, you know, and if not for the fact that I just had to read, you know, I don't think anyone would have known that he was Merlin. But more importantly, everyone was enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Like I really feel that enthusiasm in board games buys a lot.
I think so too. Do you think enthusiasm, what do you mean? So what counts as enthusiasm? Because can you be in your feelings and being like annoyed or whatever, or just like, you're like, oh, I like hate this game, but still be enthusiastic?
Yes, obviously, like, you know, like, because that happens all the time. I love this game. Fuck this game. You know, right. Like that happens all the time. I think you have to have like a when I think of enthusiasm, I think of Candace.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Candace has an amazing amount of enthusiasm for every game she plays, because like it really feels like I would rather be doing nothing else but playing this game with you guys.
Right.
And that's worth a lot. I mean, it's worth and I think what happens is sometimes as we get older in the hobby, we get a little jaded, and we go like, "Oh, is this game again?" And I think that not so good. It's interesting because I look at enthusiasm as magic grease, because you don't have to be that good at anything, but if you have the enthusiasm, you know, like people will want to play with you.
Yeah,
you know, and it's, you know, it's not because
well, it's like going to see a movie, and like let's say there's a comedy that you really want to see, and you're like, oh, I don't want to see like a matinee, or I'm like, I don't want to go with this person. I want to go with someone who thinks this is funny too.
Exactly.
Like it's like, let's say you're like a huge, you know, Will Ferrell fan, and you know, like, oh, I know 2 people who are Will Ferrell fans, but I know someone who's like, this is not funny to me. I'm not going to invite my friend who doesn't think it's funny to go see the Will Ferrell movie, because you want to be surrounded with people who are as enthusiastic about this sort of comedy. You don't want
curate that vibe.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is really important in gaming.
Yeah, no, I think like there are games that I will not play with people in our group because like it would be just not their cup of tea. Like, you know, and it's fine. Like I'm sure there are people who don't want to play certain games with me. You know, I get that, and that's
no, Paul.
Like I'm amazing, but like, you know, but you know, it's sometimes you just want to play, you know, a game without all the meta. You know.
Well, you know, I mean, it's yeah, I think like we talk a lot about games, and I think that sometimes I think maybe I'll speak for myself. I think there sometimes is a lack of sincerity in terms of what we really want out of the gaming experience, which is a lot of times I'll be like, at the end of the day, it's about the social. You know, the game is a vehicle for the social. Like you play the game so that you can get to the social stuff, because that's the most fun part. And I think that is true.
But it's too generalized. It's
too general. I think that we look for different experiences from different groups of people. Sure. So like the social part is still my favorite part, but I think sometimes we view like, oh, the game is the MacGuffin, the social is what we're really there for. But the thing is this, I think that sometimes the social can't come to life if everyone there is not enthusiastic
or on the same page.
Yeah,
no, I totally agree with you. Like I look at it like desserts, because everything is food related to me, right? I love ice cream, but some days I want a cookie. You know, sometimes I want a slice of cake. Like, if the idea is to get
I'm kind of like, by the way, just so you know, I'm sort of like the all three every day.
Like at every moment.
I don't know why does it have to be just one per day?
What's wrong with your worldview, Paul? That's right.
Yeah, let's.
But like you know, if I want to get a cookie, you know who I'm going to go to? Maybe Tom, because Tom is very pro cookie.
Yeah,
Tom is anti cake.
He does not like cake.
Yeah, and, you know, which is crazy.
And you know what? He's very polite, and he will sometimes I will bring like some snacking cakes to game night, and I think he usually tries some sometimes. And you know what? I never get offended if he doesn't have the cake, because he's been very upfront that he's just not a cake person. And there are people that are just not cake people.
Yeah, weirdos.
But I'm not gonna. I would never sit. I know. Let's be honest. But I'm never gonna say to Tom, "Hey, there's a bakery that just opened that specializes in cake. Do you want to go get some cake?" I'll probably say, Paul, you want to get some cake?
Yeah, sure.
And then we try the cake. And if the cake is really good, then I might say, Tom, I know you're not a cake person.
Exactly.
But I think you should come to this bakery.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be your Sherpa.
And the question is, do you think Tom would be hurt that he was not invited to cake?
I don't think he would.
And why not?
Because he has a full awareness of what he likes and doesn't like. He has a full awareness that like this is not going to work for him. Like he doesn't like this, so he's not gonna go get cake just so that way he can be part of the cake expedition.
Yeah, like and so the way I would say it, like, he's an adult about it.
Well, yeah, but like I don't know. I mean, I think it's like it also depends on how it's pitched. If the pitch is like, hey, there's like 4 of us, we're gonna get cake, and you can come, but you don't have to get cake because we just want to hang out. Then he would want to come, and then he would be hurt if he wasn't there. But if you said, I am on a cake quest and I really want to try this cake, and I want this to be like, I don't want to have like negativity here. I just want to have cake. He'd probably be like, it's fine, go without me. Let me know how it is, and let me know if it's worth me, like, you know, like having some cake, because he will eat cake. It's not like he doesn't eat cake.
No. While we have you guys, consider joining our podcast, Cake Quest.
So again, the nominations for Board Game Geek and this extended metaphor about Tom and cake.
That's right, Tom and cake. You know, like
I don't think it's about like, oh, he's an adult about it, but I think that it's that it's important to know. It's important to know what you like and what you don't like, and it's also important for like the event to be properly, I think, framed.
Yeah, totally. No,
you know,
and so like
for it to be a good experience for everyone, and for the cake goers, the cake eaters.
Like one of the things I love about Tom's board game night on Fridays is like it's really pitched as everyone is welcome and we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
That's the framing. So sometimes you don't get to play the games you want to play, Ben.
Yeah.
I apologize.
No, it is. And actually, it took me, I think it took me a hot second to sort of realize, like, it's not like, hey, bring your game and you get to play it and, you know, experience it in a certain sort of way. It's more like, it's exactly what you said. And then like once you sort of like can wrap your mind around something like that, you realize like that is an example where it is social first.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. Where it's like the enthusiasm should be there because you're with people, and then you can find this thing to do together.
Yeah. It was very interesting because it took a while for us to pick a game on Friday because I was kind of putting Jordan to screws where I goes, well, Age of Innovation. And you said on the podcast that you would prefer it, and it's your number one. And I'm just pushing him a little bit. And he might be wanting to play another thing. But, you know, not everyone wanted to play Age of Innovation. Trey, I don't think is the biggest fan of it, or he's never played. I don't know. But Tom, I remember, beat Lumen, so he never wants to play it again. And I think Chris Bussey was not in the bandwidth for it. And Mike would have played. But, like, it worked out this way. Dimitri had never learned.
Yeah.
And so that wound up being the...
I think what's interesting, though, about, like, you know, it's like, even though the vibe of Tom's game night is like, we're going to show up, whatever, we'll figure it out when we get there. And so, it, like I just said, it is about, like, social first. And so, like, that's where, like, the enthusiasm, you know, like, I'm trying to marry this idea, this discussion of like social first versus what we're talking about as enthusiasm. Like I still want it. Like once a game is chosen, I still want people to be enthusiastic.
I would say that it's if you're in that environment, once a game is chosen, it's your responsibility to be enthusiastic.
Yeah, because it's like if it was just purely social, then we don't even need the games.
Yeah. Exactly.
We could just go out to dinner,
sure,
which is great to do as well. But like, so even if like the vibe of the game is like, we're sort of having a freewheeling conversation here. We're sort of figuring out. We don't even have.
We had the best topic ever. It was like going to be the best, but we're going to shelve that for later.
We weren't enthusiastic about it.
Yeah, exactly. Like we didn't have the skill to pull it off.
No, but like just exploring this idea about like how important is enthusiasm in your gaming experience. I still think that like even on a night where it's like, look, it's all about being together and we're going to play some games. You still have to be enthusiastic about the games. It's not enough just to be like, hey, I showed up. And like, yeah, I'll get through the game, but I'm here to
give me my points, give me my credit.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
I have a question though. If someone is not super enthusiastic about the game, but they are super engaged socially at the table, how do you feel about that?
So this is going to be a little blue. So I apologize everyone, but you know, I describe it as like having lazy oral sex. I apologize. A little blue.
How dare you? We're trying to get nominated at the family-friendly Board Game Geek Awards, and you just brought up oral sex.
That's right. And so in this way, like when you get lazy or give lazy oral sex,
just say blowjob. You can say blowjob. It's okay.
It need not be blowjobs.
That's right. For me, it does, but
but like
I don't understand any other kind of
employment.
I don't understand. There's a world.
But in that way, like no one wins. Like the person receiving, it's like, and the person giving, like, why would you put that in the experience? No one wants that, and yet, like, because you're withholding your enthusiasm, it destroys everything. So, in that way, I would say that you have to rally whatever you have to do internally and get to it. Like in Tom's game night, there's a negotiation of what games are going to be played. So that's where you voice your opinion. But once a game is picked, you should have, it should be something that you can rally behind, because if it isn't, you're going to cost everyone a night, 2 hours of their night. It's a night.
I mean, I think of it. I mean, I think that like, if you're really social, if you're like maybe, well, I think we have to discuss about like, what does enthusiasm for a game actually mean? Because I don't think it's the same as being like enjoying a game or happy with the game. I feel like enthusiasm means engaging in the game and like holding up your end of the bargain of the contract of like we are engaging in an activity together, right? And like I think like being on your phone, like obviously people can check their phone and stuff.
Like everyone's on their phone.
Everyone's always on their phone.
But that's too much.
But it's like if you pull out your laptop, if your laptop is like standing erect on its
sure.
not to use too much blue language, but if your laptop, if your iPad is in its little easel thing or whatever, if it's in its stand and like standing on its own, that to me says you're not enthusiastic about this game. You could say, no, I'm just like checking
the rules.
Checking the rules or whatever. I mean, and obviously I'm actually even okay if someone's like watching a game, like a sports game. That's like, I just keep
serious.
I don't. Pissed. I mean, I don't like it, but I understand like sometimes like it's not that, but like if someone's actually like engaging with like just doing something else, then I don't like that, because it's like, because it is still social.
Yeah, no. Like
and you're saying like, okay, this activity that you're doing with me is like not like that important to you right now.
Yeah. For me, it's like it's everything you just said. But like we have a responsibility to each other. We're giving our spare time to each other to hopefully have a greater experience than we could have on our own. That's just what people do when you hang out. If hanging out meant having a worse time, you wouldn't do it.
Yeah. I think that like enthusiasm for the game is also, it's about being present, which maybe we are talking about being present instead of enthusiasm. Like, I think, I've played those games where, and I hate when I've had to be this person, because this has happened once or twice with me, but like we're all at the table, but then one person is like, has to like get up and like, they just like come back over the table to do their turn. And they walk away again to do like, and they're like doing something else. And it's like, even if they're being full throttle about the game
and respectful and all that stuff,
but they're not actually present really even physically at the table, it's just like it affects it, because then you can't have that fun playful banter in the same way, like someone's coming in and out. It's like, it's not the same.
Like I have a friend who, she went to what's not Scottsdale, it's in Arizona,
Tempe?
No, it's a magic woo woo place kind of city.
Sedona,
yes. And
it's game number 2 in the Tallahassee line.
That's right. It starts off as like druids, and then anyway,
Jeep tours.
Anyway, she had a girls' weekend there, but one of her friends had a baby. And someone made a joke in the planning stage of like, oh, can maybe just bring the baby? And she goes, can I? And and eventually the baby came. And my friend isn't anti-baby, but like there's a context where baby doesn't fit in. You don't take a baby to like, you know, a foam party, right? You know, you
usually not.
Yeah,
I'm sure there are exceptions.
and so in this context, like she was like, that baby, you know, like, and you're just bringing
you want buy-in, right? Like I think you want, it's like a combination of all these things. You want people to be present. You want people to be enthusiastic. But if someone's not liking a game, they're not liking a game.
Sure.
Like, so I understand that. So enthusiasm is not like, I need you to like the game, but I want you to be like happy to be at the table with your friends in that moment. And I guess like enthusiasm is what fuels like being present, having buy-in, etc. Like, you know, it's like, that's sort of like watching a comedy too. Like the reason why you don't watch a comedy with someone who is not into comedy or into that style thing is because you know they won't have the buy-in. And so when there's no buy-in, like it feels like it becomes lifeless. And then it does get to that feeling of like you are just like pushing cubes around because you can't engage with the game on both like thematically and you can't engage socially in the same way.
Like for me, it's like you're stealing time, you're stealing fun, you're a fun sponge.
Yeah.
Like we had a friend who we dubbed him the fun sponge. He always, it was terrible.
That's bad if you're a fun sponge.
Yeah, he recently died. So not to speak ill of it, but we're speaking of him so in remembrance.
By the way, I feel like a fun sponge soaks up all the fun, but then the sponge is fun. Like a sponge soaks up all the wetness, it becomes wet.
Imagine if you were to
maybe a sponge, maybe a fun vacuum.
Like, let me ask you: if you were to drink out of a glass and then a fun sponge sucked out all the water, would you want to drink from the sponge?
Fair. Depends on if I'm in Death Valley and I've been wandering around the desert for days.
Fair. But we called him the fun sponge, and we just whenever he wanted to come and you know to something like did we invite George, you know, and it was real. It's a real debate because he didn't add value. Like in any interaction, I kind of feel, especially social, you know, and games falls into this, of course. Like you want to add the value, but you also want to add value in the context of which what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the baby is bad context for a girls' week. Baby is bad for the context of a girls' weekend. You know,
I would be pissed if
no.
if I'd be pissed if someone brought a baby to our like let's have like a route. Well, I guess Sedona's not gonna be rowdy, but it's like we're gonna be doing adult things.
But
there's a baby.
But my friend was saying like, yeah, like, you know, eventually she just had to go like, well, I have to put the baby down, and so like you're not hanging out. And so it was very interesting. But like it's one of those things like, and I'm not saying that you need to be hitting on all however many cylinders you have all the time. I remember once again last year with 18X China, I was not enthusiastic. I was not.
No. So that's an interesting thing because you did not strike me as unenthusiastic. You struck me in like hour 10 of the game as being tired. I think being tired is different, or being
okay,
like,
sure.
If you've gone multiple hours and now it's experience has overstayed, I don't hold that against. Right. I don't need you to be like that the entire time. But I mean, I appreciate it. I appreciate when people are enthusiastic through the end because it's a social experience, and social experiences can be, I think, fragile.
Sure.
But I actually genuinely resent when people are not present during games because we have all very limited time.
Sure.
And it's so hard to get some of these games to the table, and it's so hard to get games played, that if someone is just there and they're not being enthusiastic, then I'm resentful because you are ruining a very precious window in my life.
Like for me, I would say I require is such a strong word. Like I would prefer like enthusiasm for the first two acts of the game.
Yeah, that's good. Right?
At Act 3, when you know you're not going to win, or you know how it's going to end, and you're doing the mechanics of it. Fine.
And again, it's enthusiasm is, to me, is I almost feel like enthusiasm is not even the right word now as we speak it, because I think that like there are times when we sit down, we play a game, and it's just not the game we want to play, or we're frustrated with the game or whatever. To me, I think it really is about being present and being like, because you could not like a game, but you're like, whatever, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to deal with it. I'm gonna negotiate with it. Like, but like it's when you're not present. That's hard, and presence can mean a lot of different things. Like if you're not paying attention during rules, that drives me nuts. Because then what means that I have to now like spend a lot of time going over it again and again and again. That's like a big pet peeve of mine. And I used to be pretty like, no, well, we all do, like we all learn rules in different ways, but sometimes. Which is true, but sometimes people just don't pay attention. It's like, I want you to be like, we're doing this together. I want you to be here with me right now, because if you're not, like, you're showing that you are basically implying you'd rather be with someone else. And so therefore, like, I find that when I put together my games, I have become actually more, I really lean into curating in terms of like, I am going to, with the game that we have, that I've selected, I'm going to reach out to people who I feel like will want to play this and will be present in the game. And by the way, people are present for different games, but I think it's really important. That's why I think curation is really important, because it's, everyone is going to have different games that they connect with and will be enthusiastic and present for.
Like a game that I think I'm out of the curation loop is Agricola. Like, don't ask me to play Agricola. Like it's not that even, but if you have me there, I'm probably not going to be able to bring in the delight that everyone else has. And so I would rather you not put me in that situation.
I love Agricola and I play it, but I don't play it in the same way that other members of our group do. And it's fine because they don't hit me up for it. Or how about Root recently was a good example of, Matt had reached out to some people who were like really into Root, and he was like, I think this could be a way to get into it. And I played that one game and I enjoyed it, but like that sort of Root group kind of took off and was running. And like, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to kind of step out of this group, because I can already tell that while I had a fun time playing that game of Root, I'm not at that same level of.
Do you think it's a skill thing, or do you think it is a matter of interest? Yeah.
I think it was an interest thing. Or it's like, if I'm going to go down the Root path, I think I have to be with people who are sort of at my same place.
Sure.
Because that sort of like, it took off like with wildfire with that group. And I was like, you know what? I already feel left behind in the dust, and I don't feel what I would need to do is do the homework and the research, and I'm not going to do that. My enthusiasm. So maybe it is enthusiasm. Maybe the word is enthusiasm. My enthusiasm waned.
No.
I was like, I don't want to drag down this group. I don't want to be like, I don't want people to feel like, like, oh, when Ben's playing, like we have to make this really fun for him or something.
Yeah. I think the way I describe it is probably the same way you get kids to like you, like young children to like you. Not you specifically, but like you just have to delight in what they're delighting in. And if you can't find that space, you're probably not, that game is probably not for you.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But I find that for me, I can almost play with anyone despite their enthusiasm level. Because I'm there to watch human nature unfold.
Right.
It's a safari for me. And it's great. But when we're playing Avalon this week, everyone wanted to be there, and it was really great.
When everyone is present, remember when we played 1848, the Railways of Australia, which I believe you've been to Australia before?
Yeah. I used to live in Australia.
Oh, yeah.
We never talked about it.
But we talked about, that game was so great because everyone was dialed in.
Yeah.
And everyone was, focused, and everyone wanted to play the game in the exact same way.
Exactly.
And that was really, it wasn't like there was just people just taking turns.
Yeah.
It's like people wanted to engage with other players, and that's what created the social experience, and that's what made it so memorable. So I think sometimes the social, what makes the social element of gaming so special is when people are fully attuned to the game, and then that creates discussion around the game, and then that usually then blooms into something else. And I think that when not everyone is present or enthusiastic, it can kind of dry up the entire experience.
Yeah, no, like Salton Sea.
like the Salton Sea itself.
That's right. Yeah, it's interesting. There is this other aspect though. Enthusiasm isn't like the cure-all, because sometimes you want someone to have the requisite skill.
Yeah.
For example, our Avalon game, not to keep on going back to it, I apologize, everyone, but like everyone was at a skill level that could, exploit what the fun, and sometimes like that's not always the case, at which point it detracts from the.
Yeah. I mean, it's that's so interesting, because there are times you play a game where it's like, this game is like too heavy for someone. Like I like to think, in the past I used to sort of say like, no game is too heavy. Everyone, like, people just need like there's a learning curve, but people generally figure out these things. And I've realized that some games really just are too heavy for people. It doesn't mean that's the game's better or worse for that, or they're better or worse. But some people's brains just don't connect with really heavy games. Or even sometimes it's not even that it's a bad heavy game. It's just sometimes there's a conceptual idea in the game.
Agricola and La Havre for me.
Yeah. But the thing is that you understand how to play the games. You just may not understand how to win them, right?
But like I could, there's a point where I realized that with Matt and Trey, when they're playing Agricola, where I go like, oh, I'm making mistakes that is impacting other people's wins.
I think that's okay. I think it's okay to make mistakes, because that's a game.
But it's a matter of the level that you want to play with, and so
right. So they probably want to play with someone who's not making those mistakes.
Like, I didn't want to cost people games because of my the worst thing for me is when the person to the left of me wins consistently in a game because of either I'm not checking them or I'm giving them too much stuff.
Right.
That I'm not actually up to the level of this game or at the play yet. So if I want to play at this level, I need to practice. I need to learn more or whatever, which, there are a bunch of videos and you can learn all. Or
that's like me with the root.
Yeah. Or you just step away and go like, it's not important for me. Right.
And I think that like you can be really enthusiastic, but like if this game is not like if it's not a match in terms of like if you are like struggling with it to play it, that's hard.
Twilight Struggle is a game where I go like, oh, in order to play this right, I'm going to have to really study. I don't care about this enough to study.
So would you rather play with someone who's enthusiastic, but they just cannot grok how to play the game? And I'm not talking about strategy. Like they just like the rule. There's too many rules for them. Or would you rather someone who can keep up with everything, but is like really not present at the table?
The correct answer is it's context. It depends on what I want at the moment. Because sometimes I want the social, and sometimes I want the fight, the struggle.
Right.
That said, I'm a person who tends to go enthusiasm first rather than skill.
Yeah.
I'm a golf person. You can be bad at golf and still have fun.
I think so too. Like I have some friends who are not in Game Brain who like every now and then I push them out of their comfort zone a little bit, and I'm just so happy that they're playing the game that even though they are not following what's going on, I'm just like happy that they're there, and the social thing comes through strongly regardless because they're present. But I also think it sort of brings up another thing, which is kind of a tough thing to kind of face. But I think that with a game group is built off of in my mind, a mutual love of games.
Sure.
Right? Like games are the connective fabric. And so I think that when I play games with a game group, the game is more of the priority because it's like we all love games. We want to play a game. Let's play a game, sure. And we can build a social experience off of that. Whereas my friends who are not in a game group, but I'm just friends with them, but who play games, our relationships are built off of social. Social is where that friendship came from. So in some ways, it feels like we get together to play a game, but it's like our banter is actually what's most important. So like I wonder with a game group, and this is why I say this is sort of tough to talk about because we're in a game group and it sounds like I'm dissing everyone, but I am. And that's the end.
And we are a podcast about our friend group. Feel free to vote for us.
No, but like if you're there looking for social, but it's a group that was not inherently built on social, but was built on games, which is not necessarily true with our group because our group has like a wild history. Mm-hmm. But it is like I've been in other groups and it's like there's like a little bit of is fallacy the right word?
Sure.
Like, oh yeah, we're here for the social, but it's like, yeah, but we were never if you strip out the games, do we survive as a social group?
Yeah, no.
You know?
Yeah, sure. No. It's like I'm a big believer that the things that hold social groups together are very fragile and they are really dependent on context. Context is king or queen or regent. How about regent? That can be regentess. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Viscountess.
Sure. And so like you have to know what you're going for the group for. Like I go to our board game group because I can use a part of my brain to play games and I use a part of my brain to talk.
Yeah.
And that's really, and if you take away one or the other, we don't have a game group in that way.
Yeah.
Like, another thing I do is I go eat out a lot, and what happens like, we go eat and we talk. Like yesterday after my tournament, I was exhausted and very hungry and no one wanted to eat all you can eat sushi with me.
I'm sorry that I let you down on that front.
You know what I did? I went by myself.
As you can.
And it was great.
Yeah. And by the way, I do think that, for the record, I do think our group would survive without games because actually we do that a lot. Yeah. We do go out to dinner a lot. We do things outside of gaming a lot. Mm-hmm. But I think that I think the sort of the weird is that I don't know if it's a paradox or not, but like a gaming group brings people together, and then sometimes there is a little bit of a myth or a narrative we tell each other that like we're here for the social experience. It's like, yeah, but if you were brought in and I never connected with you socially, I connected with you because I played games with you, and then now all of a sudden I'm expected to be social with you, and then like if you're not being present at the table, this is how I think it all ties in. If you're not being present at the table, now I have to rely on the social, but the social was never a given in the first place because we weren't brought together because of a social group. We were brought together by a gaming group. And I think that's the tricky part about a game group. I'm not saying it's necessarily what happens in Game Brain, but I'm saying but it has happened in other situations in my life. And I think that like that is, and it's not even just based on board games. I think any activity group,
sure,
it's like, it's a weird phenomenon that happens where like, I think almost like we perhaps even start leaning into the, like, I'm here for the social element because it feels almost too incredibly antisocial to say, I'm really just here to play a game. Well, I don't care who I play it with.
So it's interesting. So
we have to tell ourselves, no, we're here for the social. We're real human beings.
I don't know. I think there are a lot of people who can just straight out say, I'm here for the games, and and later, I don't like any of you.
Yeah.
I don't think it works for a game group. But I think it's probably like there's a certain percentage where it is part social and part like you're not going to join a game group where you don't connect with any of the people. Mm-hmm. But I do feel that for all of it, how should I say it? Like you ever try to be happy? Like you don't get that. Like it's not a thing that happens. You can't just try to be. You actually do other things. And from other things, you get happy. Oh, well, I'm going to bake a cake. Oh, this cake makes me happy.
Yeah.
The act of baking a cake, the activity of something allows that happiness to come. And truth be told, when we say social, what we're really meaning is connection. And you can't just right, let's connect. How? It doesn't work that way. Like, you need to do something.
Yeah.
And in that doing something, you'll be able to get the flavor of connection. And so, like, the board game, in the way I see our group, like, the board game is how we get connection.
Right. Because that is the other side of it, which is the flip side of everything I was saying, which is like, okay, I didn't become friends with you because I met you at a party and we struck up a conversation. We realized that we connected that way. I became friends with you because we play a board game, and through just like proximity and reps, I've like learned about your personality, and I've discovered, oh, you're a cool person. And let's go to dinner and let's hang out and we can talk about all sorts of stuff. And there's this element of like, if you're not being present in the game, you're also not allowing people to get to know you.
And that's the trick, right? Like, if you aren't playing the game, if you're not enthusiastic, you're actually depriving yourself of the connection that you're there for anyway.
Yeah, you are. I mean, right. Because it's not enough just to be there and be like, I'm socializing because I'm sitting here.
The way I would describe it is like, it's like going to the gym and then just sitting and eating a smoothie.
And you know what? There are people who do that.
But like it goes, but I want to get fit. So I go to the gym and I just look at the weights, like it's not, it doesn't work. You have to like, it's a terrible thing about life.
Well, you know what? It does something for that person. Like I used to go to a gym and there was this strange gentleman who would always come in every day with a little cap and jorts and like a denim vest. And he would like sort of do these strange walk arounds and he wasn't actually working out. He probably honestly was cruising guys. Sure. I'm not going to lie, but it was giving him, that's what he wanted.
Sure.
So he was getting something out of it. But if he were to say to someone like, oh, I love going to the gym, or if he were to say, I'm not getting the results that I wanted. It's like, well, what are you actually doing at the gym?
Exactly.
So you may be scratching a certain itch right now, which is totally fine.
But it's not the thing.
It's not the thing.
Like for me, I'm probably the most specific person in our group as far as what I want from game night. I want to see people feel sad.
So anyone, again, vote for us, best board game podcast.
But like, I really love it when people get really emotional and wrapped up in paper and cardboard, paper, plastic.
Yeah.
Like, it's just because it's so ridiculous. Because these are games, but you've invested so much in it,
right,
that you're getting upset. Like, oh my God, well, if you're gonna do this to me, then I'm gonna fire my orbital cannons. Take that, and that level of emotion for something stupid and really low stakes is beautiful to me.
Yeah,
and I don't care if I'm the one who loses my cookies, but like I get that, to get that is really special to me, because that's what, for me, once again, memories, is important. Like, you only have so much time, you only have so many stories, so many memories. So good memories are a good thing, and so in that way, like I'm specific about what I want. I don't know if everyone in even our group knows exactly what they want.
No, and like for me, I like a few different things. I like laughter around the table.
100%.
I like joking. I like people to be engaged, because the most multiplayer solitaire game can come to life and be hilarious. I think of Atiwa. We played that with Matt, and I played it with other friends.
Is that the bat one?
Yeah. And it was just like we're just making all these jokes about bats and just having a fun time. And like, because we were all enthusiastic about the game, even though the game feels very, very solitaire, and I'm sure you can make an argument about why it's not, but whatever. It felt like very much like we were just concerned about what was going on our little tableaus, but we were engaged and we were enthusiastic about the game, and that created a foundation for us to be joking and joking and joking and joking, and then we had the best time with that game. So even though the puzzle sort of seemed disconnected from everyone, the social experience was highly connected.
Sure.
So I want that laughter, and I want that talking and that banter. Or if it's not going to be that, I want to have a really fun puzzle that I'm working out, a strategy and tough decisions. But if someone is not really there, then I feel like I'm actually not even getting to engage with the full game. because the decisions that I'm being faced with are not. I sometimes feel like they're not the actual decisions of the game, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense.
Like if someone's just not. It's like playing a 3-player game with a 4-player setup.
Sure.
And so like things could be looser or different or like, I don't know. The point is that everyone needs to be there to make either the puzzle come alive or the social experience to come alive. In my mind, maybe it's because maybe I'm coming from the bias of an extroverted person too, by the way. I think you're pretty extroverted.
Yeah, no.
An introvert may have a completely different take on this.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Like, I think there was a cartoon that not like a caption cartoon that's really explained how introverts think. Basically, it's 2 people in a room and they're reading, and it's been hours, and it goes, "Wow, I really love doing that with you."
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's how my wife is, like,
And that's how my boyfriend is.
So and that's great, and to each their own. But
when I play games with Dom,
he's in it. When I play with him, yeah,
he's in it. He's very in it.
Exactly, and
he doesn't. It doesn't mean that he's like super chatty, but he's in it, and he makes little jokes.
Yeah, and I would say that when he plays, he's in it, and that's what literally. Like, I'm not asking you to play every single time as much. I'm not asking people to eat out as often as I do, but like when you're in it, when you're eating out, when you're playing the game, be there.
But you know what though? Eating out is a good example. I once went to a restaurant, and it was a group, like 4 of us, and one person was like, "I'm just gonna get this thing." Well, that's all like a lot of money, and I don't want to spend that. Which, fully get it. Like, people have different budgets, etc. But it was part of it was like a little bit of like a dining club, and it felt to me like, if it's a dining club, I would expect that people are going to be more adventurous and they want to order different things off the menu and really understand what the restaurant has to offer. So for someone who was in it to say, I'm just going to get this, this will be good enough for me. It felt strange to me. It felt like actually this person was enthusiastic. They were there. They were happy to, they were present. That's, I guess, the equivalent there is almost like what if you have enthusiasm, but not like the skill, I guess you were saying.
Yeah.
And it felt to me like, it attracted a little bit.
Yeah.
Because there was not the same mentality. Whereas if we'd just gone to dinner, I would have been like, yeah, cool, do you? But I was like, but this is a dining club. So what's wrong? Like, you shouldn't be doing that.
You're missing out on the context of what we're doing.
So maybe like the being present and the buy-in is affected by the fact that we're a board game group.
I mean, I always think so. Like, I think, like, here's the thing about board games, right? Like, it's much like, let's take poker. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a big blind, a small blind. Why is there a big blind and a small blind? They're there because if you don't have something to play with, to play for, then there's no stakes, and then you just wait for your best hand, and if that never comes, then no one wins anything.
Yeah.
It jumpstarts the game. Mm-hmm. So in that way, like, we all put in this idea of like, oh, I want to play games, and it'd be nice to win. I put a little bit of my emotional whatever to gamble, quote unquote gamble, or put in this, and we're going to have a little contest. Mm-hmm. And it can be as little or as much of your self-esteem as you'd like, right. But you need to put in something.
Right. And by the way, putting in something or being jokey or funny to me does not include saying things like, this game has so many rules. Oh my God, there's more rules? Oh my God. Like, I hate when people do that. Because to me, that's actually like, that is not enthusiasm. That is, it's, I once played a game where someone did that and it was like a virus. Then all of a sudden everyone was doing it. And then you just don't have the buy-in. And then people are like, so how long does this game go for? And you're like, well, you've ruined it.
It's interesting because, like, back to this last, I'm speaking a lot about Avalon. I apologize.
It's okay.
So
I don't even know what we're talking about, to be honest. We're just rambling.
That's right. But like, there was a narrative being created, and I go, okay, you know what I need to do? I need to attack Dimitri as far as like going, oh, I need to trick him into thinking that we're good, and we only need one person. I focus all on Dimitri, and for the first 4 rounds, he was with me, and then on the 5th round, he flipped, and I didn't know why, because I didn't think I was being too hard. And I think what it was is like, there's a vibe difference where if you put in the wrong vibe, like it can really just quickly derail something in a way that, that really destroys what you're going for. In this way, like, if someone keeps on pointing out the things that are fringe or not great about a game or long, that can be infectious, and you might not see it in the moment.
Yeah.
But like it like by the end of the game, we were not going to win the first round because of either something someone did well or I did poorly. Mm-hmm. And you didn't see the ramifications till the end. I'm still thinking about like, oh, what did I do? I didn't control anything. I didn't make a mistake, but something was out of my control that I did not control.
It's like a heckler at a comedy show.
Yeah, no, I think it's really good.
Or just like even a miss, like you can have a punchline. Let's say the punchline was something like, and that's why I don't eat bananas. Okay. Which, I mean, obviously is hilarious. You're all welcome.
Like you can't do wrong. Like,
hello, like Netflix is a joke. That's like, that joke is headlining right now at the Palladium. But, you could have that punchline. It's a hilarious punchline. And you can have the exact same punchline, but you put in one stutter and there's
crickets.
No crickets. I know this happens all the time to me on Watch What Crappens. So many times I'm like coming in, I'm landing that plane with that punchline, and then I have like a stutter or something, like the smallest
Sure.
thing. And the audience perceives something was off. And all of a sudden, it's the difference between the biggest laugh and like a ha ha ha. And that plane just crashes right into the ground. And like, it just goes to show how tenuous everything is, vibe. So it's like, it was enough to have Dimitri no longer trust you in Avalon. And it's enough to make a game night go from feeling like alive and vibrant and exciting and full of joy and memories versus like functional or utilitarian and just like pushing things around.
There are times when you have a functional game night. For example, if you want to get good at a game, you just want to put in reps. Fine.
Yeah.
That's not a wrong thing to do. That's just not our vibe, and I don't know if people go for that.
But Salton Sea was super fun to me, and it was super fun because it is a very dry game. It was very difficult, and that is what. To me, that was what powered a lot of the humor in the game.
Sure.
Because everyone is
you're
miserable.
Sharing the pain.
You're all like, oh no. Like I had a moment where I worked so hard to get to do this thing. And then I had to burn a special power in order to get this thing. So that way I could do my special power, which I'd already just burned to get the thing to do the special power. And so like the moment that I sort of like, I had the thing in my hand, I was like, and now I will do my special power. And I looked at my hand, I go, I like literally, I let out an audible gasp and everyone laughed because things went calamitously wrong for me. And so like that, I think you don't get those moments without people like wanting to play. And it feels redundant in a board game podcast to be like, oh, what's really good for playing games is if people all want to play a game. But like, it's just shocking how often you encounter this problem, It's shocking. People don't realize how much they contribute to a vibe. They really don't.
Yeah, it's, like, I think you take it for granted, right? I think sometimes, I remember when Jesse first joined our group, and he was really cutthroat. He was really like, I need to win. And I think 6 months later, we were having a conversation in the car, and he was like, yeah, like, I had to like prove myself. Yeah. Otherwise you guys might not invite me back. And he's like, and it was just such a strange paradigm from our group versus what he was thinking. But like, I think that in the end, like if you aren't aware of what the vibe is, you kind of need to. Otherwise, you're gonna really disrupt that vibe. Like, that people have like cultivated. Like, like I'm snarky a lot of the times, but you know when I'm never snarky? When someone's explaining rules to me. Like, because
that's your snark-free zone.
Because it's a pain in the ass to read rules and like try to learn and then try to teach. And so I go like, there could be something funny here, but like, it's not my place to do that.
And if you're on your phone while I'm teaching rules, mentally I'm always like, why am I even here?
Yeah, no, it's so, it's one of those things where, I think a group who is cognizant of it can sustain.
So maybe it's not about being enthusiastic about playing the game. It's about enthusiastic about maintaining the vibe.
I think maybe that is.
Which gets back to the thing earlier, which is like, can you be like enthusiastic socially, but not like with the game? And I think that actually, again, it's hard. I think in a non-game group, the answer is yes. I think in a game group, the answer is no. I think in a game group, there is a certain contract. It's like we've gathered here to do a thing.
Sure.
Not like we've gathered to be with each other and we've decided that the thing that we are going to do as a group is to play a game. It's like we've gathered to do something. And so I think you do have to be enthusiastic about the act of playing the game.
Yeah. I mean, I think as a group, we are also friends. And games have like allowed that to happen. Like, I did not know you before games.
No.
I think you are very kind to me and friendly. So if you despise me, I don't know.
I think I like you.
But in the end, that came from, the connection from games. It wasn't because like you were like, oh, you know what, Paul is whatever, Paul, so I want to be his friend. It's through the experience of playing games, seeing who I am, and then eventually going like, oh, you know what, I like to eat too.
Yeah. But also like on a game night, there are a lot of kind of like social cues. There are a lot of tests that are happening all the time. Like actual like psychological tests, because the amount of time I've talked about game night to my therapist is extraordinary. I cannot believe how much.
This is what you do for fun.
Yeah. This is what I do for fun. And I am constantly talking to my therapist because it really brings a lot of issues to the fore. But like, one thing that I've learned is like, as we banter over the table, the way people banter back to me tells me, if they banter back with me, it says, I get what you're saying. And I think what you said was funny. And I'm going to pick up with what you said and do this. And it shows like, we are on the same level. I am safe. This is a safe relationship. You are safe with me. Whereas if I banter with someone and they're just not really interested in bantering back, or if they just don't initiate banter with me,
or a different frequency,
as much as I may like the person, it's actually sending me a psychological message like, this person's not safe for you. I mean, I don't think anyone's gonna whip out a knife. It's just like psychologically safe. Like this person doesn't fully get you and what you need socially, and therefore they're gonna. This is be on alert.
Or here's the distance that I feel safe with you.
Exactly, and that's not a vibe that is conducive to fun.
Danger.
This person is unsafe, but it's like it's more like that explains why sometimes, like, that's probably what all of this is really about. Like if people are not enthusiastic, we don't feel safe. For us, maybe the two of us, maybe that's specifically for the two of us. We don't feel safe if people are not present and enthusiastic, because it means that they are in some ways rejecting our like this is our love language in a certain way, like gaming and bantering, whatever. And if someone's not engaging with that, like we're rejected.
In the way like mine is quality time, and you are not engaging in my quality time. Like and that's fine. Like I'm not for everyone. I'm for smart, elevated, handsome people.
You're the Neiman Marcus of people, basically.
Thank you. Like, but I know I'm not everyone's vibe. Like I describe all the time. Like, I'm a wet towel.
Yeah, that's...
and so if you
as opposed to a fun sponge.
That's right. Like so basically, if you're on fire, you know what? You kind of want a wet towel.
But you don't want to drink from your towel. You don't want your towel to be wrung out into a glass.
But if you're having like a fire of a time, you know what you don't want? Wet towel.
As opposed to wet blanket. We should differentiate that you're not a wet blanket.
That's right.
You're a wet towel.
Yeah, I know. I said that to a friend of mine. He goes like, "Oh, that explains so much."
But then if you're already wet, then people don't want you.
Well,
right? Because you're already wet. Like you always want a dry towel.
That's right. Like there's unless there's a fire. Like basically, I'm like the way I've seen myself.
You have a very specific application.
Yeah, like I'm a buffer. Like like in chemistry, like I'm a buffer. I keep things at a certain pH. And if you don't like the pH I'm at, then
that's different than a wet towel.
But like no one wants to talk chemistry. Like hey, how are you doing? I'm a buffer. Where are you? What kind of chemical reaction are you? Like
I don't think you're a buffer.
Thank you. Like I've worked very hard.
No, you're too big to be a buffer.
And this is the thing. Like like I've spent a lot of time.
You're a pickle.
That's why I think
high pH, and I think most people enjoy you quite a bit, and it's a strong flavor, and it's a whole lot of stuff. But there will be people that will say, I don't fuck with pickles.
I don't like pickles. I don't like pickles. That's right. Hey, I'll buy that. I'm so vain and secure that like any news is good. Any what's the word? Any press is good press.
Yeah.
Any press is. But you're talking about me.
So you need pickle energy.
Oh, that's right. Pickle energy. Like Paul gives big pickle energy. Not
and
what you think.
If someone's giving a contrasting food, like if someone's giving what? Strawberry?
Sure, strawberry. Like you know what strawberry tastes like now.
I do. It's disgusting. That was better than I thought.
Yeah, big pickle energy.
So I think what we have discovered here, if anything at all, is match the energy.
Sure.
Be enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Maybe some of it is like know your limits.
Sure. and if if this podcast improves your love life in any way, please give us say on the comment.
Yeah. Just give us a vote.
That's right. Yeah, I don't know about games. Like it's boring about games, but like it saved my marriage.
I mean, you know what? My last thought on this is that this is why a game group is fundamentally interesting, and board games are interesting because it is for the most part it's a social activity, and it really creates a lot of fascinating social dynamics where we have to think about this stuff. And I do love talking about it and trying to kind of home in on what is it that gets under my skin, or what is it that I really like, and where does this all work for me, etc. And it's cool, but it's it's a specific situation where you have to figure out a way to mesh with people.
Yeah, no,
which I think is good.
Like for me, game groups are a way of seeing people, right? I believe that games reveal character, and and I don't care if it's good or bad per se, but I like the nakedness of it, and so that's so that's why I enjoy games, and I think that's why I have a wide range of games that people will play with me with, because I have the skill to play most games, and the enthusiasm comes from the game, and I get what I want too. So there we are. We solved it, guys.
We solved it. So the takeaway is give Salton Sea a shot.
That's right.
Jordan had a great game night. Good for him. Vote for us, and make sure if you're playing a game it's not enough just to sit there. Play the game. Enough. Get into it.
That's right.
Be an active member, and you will reap the rewards.
Don't be a fun sponge.
Don't be a fun sponge. All right, everyone. I guess I have to play the ending music here, don't I? You have been listening to Game Brain, produced and edited by Matthew Robinson, Tom Donnelly, Trey Alsop, and Ben Mandleker. Special thanks to Daedalus for our incredible music. More on Daedalus at GameBrainPod.com. And thanks to Edamar Peleg for our incredible graphics. Be sure to check him out on Instagram at Kerbuloni, or his website, Kerbuloni.com. You can reach us by email at contact@GameBrainPod.com. Thanks for listening, and go play some games with friends, or make some friends with games.